Welcome back, friends. In this video, we are going to get started with writing our very first program in Python. There is a kind of convention that whenever we start learning a new programming language, we print on a screen, hello world. So that's exactly where we are also going to get started. In this program, I'll show you how to print hello world. But more importantly, we'll get face to face with this command called print and learn a little bit more about how we can go about using it. So for this purpose, I have created myself a REPL. I just call it fun with print. Remember, I'm going to write my Python commands over here. I'm going to click run and see the output in the console area. So let's get started. Since I know the print command, I'm just going to write here print, and I'm going to use there's a brackets here. It gives me two brackets, use inverted quotes, and I write, say, hello world. Now, in fact, in terms of writing hello world on the screen, that's all we need, because if I click run, notice I get hello world printed on the console. Now, instead of single double quotes, I could have also used single quotes. So I change this to say a single quote, and I go and change this to also a single quote. And then if I run this again, I get hello world over here, right? So this is really as simple as that. To print hello world in Python, use print and then go say write hello world. Right now, while this works, but it's good for us to kind of get a little bit deeper into what's exactly going on. How do we understand this? How do we use this print block for doing other things, right? So for that purpose, I'm going to take you back to scratch and I'm going to show you a block which is very similar to this block, right? So that block here, if I go to scratch, remember in scratch we had this block in the look section called say. So I'm going to use this say block here and I'm going to just write a very simple program. Say when flag clicked, say hello. And what happens when you do that? The cat sprite puts out a bubble, comic bubble, and in that there's a word called hello. Now instead of hello, I could have chosen to put say hello world, and cat will do that, right? So print is in let's say in the first look, right? At the first look, to first understand, print is much like say, we can, whatever we want to display on the screen, we write it inside those inverted quotes and give the print command with the parentheses, right? So for example, what we have done here, so we wanted to print hello world on the screen, that's why we wrote that, and we put the print command with these parentheses, right? However, there are two things to be said here. One, that print itself can do a lot more, as we'll explore a little later. Number two, that unlike Scratch, now we have to be a little bit careful about how we are writing this command. So let's see some things that can possibly go wrong in this and what happens when we make those mistakes. The first mistake that I could think of is that, let's say, instead of writing inside inverted commas, I completely miss these inverted commas, right? So now this looks, one would think it should work, but in fact when you run this, you get an error saying that there's an invalid syntax. The reason is because, remember, print work will work to print whatever is inside those inverted quotes, but right now there's no inverted quotes, so it reports invalid syntax. Now this is an error message, something that we've got to get used to while programming. Good thing is that it tells us there's an error in line number one. Anyway, there's only one line right now, but then we can go and fix it. Right now, the next error you could think of is that, yes, I put inverted commas, but I forgot to put the closing commas, right? So then what happens is, once again, I notice that it gives me an error because it doesn't know where the string ends, right? So it says end of line, there's a syntax error, and basically it's kind of like not able to figure out what's going on, right? Another mistake I could make is that I used, remember, double quotes here, and then by mistake I go and use a single, sorry, not here, I go into here and I go and use, say, a single quote, right? Now again, this looks innocent to us, but it's actually going to be a problem for the interpreter because it not know what to do. How do I interpret this whole line? So that's also a problem, right? So we can use single quotes, that's okay, but we must have single quotes on both sides. Or we can use double quotes, that's also okay, but we must have double quotes on both sides, right? Let's see a few of the mistakes we could make, right? We might forget the parentheses completely. Let's say I wrote this, parentheses are these small curly, those round brackets. Let's say for some reason we make a mistake, we miss them, and I click this, let's say click this run. Notice again it says syntax error. In fact, it tells us missing parentheses are these brackets. In fact, it tells us, do you mean print hello world, right? In fact, that's exactly what we meant. So I'm going to just fix this right away by saying print hello world, right? Let's take a look at one more mistake that we might make, right? And that's actually, these are common things. If we are not very careful about these things, these such things will happen. We might write a print with a big P. Now this looks innocent to us because, as humans we understand that, what you meant is print. But remember, this is being interpreted by the Python interpreter, who you can imagine is very obedient, just like our Scratch sprites, right? So it has been told to recognize the print command with a small p. Once it sees this big P, it is probably going to get confused, and exactly what we thought. So it says name print is not defined, right? So while the command print is simple, it getting it to work correctly, uh, we have to be a little bit careful, and the care is not very onerous. In fact, we have to be careful to write, let's say, print. Beyond this, we can use, like I said, a single quote or a double quote, and we can print whatever with it. So I was printing hello world. Let's just see, instead of hello world, let's say hello world. Let's say I'm just going to extend that, hello world, how are you, right? Remember, just like the say block, whatever is inside here is going to get printed, provided the syntax is all correct. And indeed, that's what I expected. So it says hello world, how are you, because this is the command we have given our sprite, right? Now this was the like a very 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 first introduction to Python programming using the print statement. Print statement can do a lot more things. We'll come back to this a little later, but for now I'm going to wrap this video up. Please try this so that you gain some confidence and you also get a bit more comfortable with this whole concept of error messages, right? Take care. I'm going to see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.